So I find myself a little bummed out tonight, so I figure it's a good opportunity to work on one of these guys. On my last video I talked very generally about anger, so I'm going to try to be more specific with this video. So in that video, Writer's Block, who's actually a friend of mine, left me this comment. Usually I bury/absorb my anger until it comes out in a burst. Not the healthiest way I know, but I hate hurting people, so I turn my rage on myself. All the voices in my head tell me I suck through and through, and sooner or later I do something to prove them right. Even when I start to feel good about myself, something happens or I fuck up, then they come rushing back to say, "So, what you do now, dipshit? Told you you'd fuck up somehow and we were right, weren't we? Yep. Loser." This got me thinking about self-loathing, and how quickly I realized how tricky of a topic it is to talk about. Mostly because I have that exact same voice in my head. I know it may shock a lot of people, but generally I do have issues with self-loathing. I do hate myself quite a bit. Some days more than others, but it is there. I try not to, and I've gotten better at it, but it still pops up from time to time and can be very self-destructive. To put that into context, when you do what I do for an extended period of time, you inevitably get all kinds of criticism from various different people. People don't like my work, or say I'm a piece of shit, or don't like me, and say I'm garbage, or they don't like this, or they don't like that I should be doing more of this and less of that, or I should be doing better at this, and this, and this, etc., etc. Really, this can be applied to really any work that I've ever done, period. There's always that criticism there, and I'm not saying criticism by itself is a bad thing. What a horrible hypocrite would I be if I said that. But when I first get that criticism, even if it's constructive and helpful, I don't even really get... My initial reaction isn't to be logical or even defensive, although I admit I get that way a lot too. It's much more along the lines of just get that damn voice in my head that just goes, "You know what, they're right, you're a terrible person, you're worthless, you're garbage, you're weak and pathetic, you're a loser, you're nothing, and you should disappear like nothing. Just quit because you'll never get any better and you'll always be worthless." I really hate that voice. It's an involuntary reaction, like a nerve. I can't stop it. Many ways don't want to. I can't explain it really why. I don't know where it came from. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it's there. I don't know what purpose it serves. I guess you can say it's for humility, but it's like too much of it. It's like the negative aspect of it. I don't know. I think most people have that voice in their head to some extent. It's more prevalent in some people than it is others. Some people can just straight up ignore it. Admirable. But I think it's there all the same. I guess it originates differently for every person. For me, I think a lot of it was shame. I was pretty ashamed of myself in my early teens. I was a lonely kid too. That didn't help much. Really hasn't changed much either. I remember growing up, I had this group of online friends, and I apologize for them watching this right now, although I'd be surprised if they were. But back in those days, we split. It sounds silly now when I say it, but at the time, they were the closest friends I had. It sounds kind of silly because they were online buddies, but you know, you still get to develop those connections, and that's at the time was one of the few ones I had with people. I wasn't a very social kid growing up. We used to play online for hours. I remember we just had these conversations. Again, we just got to know each other really well, and just got really had these personal connections for years. And then somewhere down the line, I don't really remember when it happened or why it happened, but somewhere down the line there was like a shift in their attitude towards me. And it was strange, and they all kind of started picking on me more. Like, it started out kind of innocent, and then it just kind of got just meaner and meaner as time went on, and I put up with it. I put up with a lot of it because, I don't know, I guess I just thought that's what friends did. Like, they just put up with that shit. But the problem is they started to, like, say these things to me so many times that eventually I started to believe it. And I think that's where a lot of my initial self-loathing issues came in. Granted, there's probably some other stuff too that I can't think of at the moment. Fuck, if I want to know that, I guess I'll have to go see a shrink. But then, somewhere along the line, this one guy, I'm never going to forget this person, who basically kind of snuck his way into the group and basically made a point to bully and harass me for the longest time. Like, he would go out of his way to make me feel miserable, and everyone laughed along with it. I laughed along with it because, again, I was too dumb. No, not dumb. That was not the right word. I was too... I guess I felt like it was either this or nothing. So I put up with it. Which was a huge fucking mistake. No, you know what it was? It wasn't that I felt all nothing. I'm sure that's part of it too. But at the same time, my self-esteem was so fucking low that I honestly thought it was my fault. That I thought if I changed, that if I became better, like if I did this or did that, like if I can just change myself in the right combination of ways, they would accept me and they would stop saying these things to me, and everything would be better, and I would be better, and everything would work out. But of course, it didn't work out that way, and it took me too fucking long to realize that. I think at the worst of it, there was a time when this person just directly called me worthless to my face. And everyone just laughed. Including someone I knew in real life, who I'd known for a long time. I think that was the last straw for me. I think that was like the tipping point. That's when I realized that I couldn't or shouldn't put up with this anymore. And I didn't do it then. I took my time with it, but eventually I separated myself from that group altogether, realizing that I don't need this crap. I tried, and I'm sorry it happened this way, but I basically just left them all behind, and I moved, and I basically became a loner for a long time. That was actually a big moment for me. Except for one person. One person in this group stood by me. And he was the only one that treated me with respect, who understood the crap that was going on and actually tried to help me through it. And I owe this man a great deal because he got me through some serious shit. And if you're watching this right now, thank you again for that, because I do want to... I've already told you this, I think, but that did mean a lot to me, and it helped me through a hard time in my life. Again, it sounds so silly saying it right now, like talking about it right now, because like you hear about online harassment these days, like cyberbullying like that, and you kind of dismiss it as a silly thing, but it is a real thing to a certain extent, and it does affect people. Especially if you already have low self-esteem and you put up with it because you don't think you have any other options. It's funny to think about, just... God, it seemed like such a big deal back then. Like it was just this huge thing. And now it's just another chapter just gone. Off topic, but I think the point I'm trying to make with that story is that, and I think I've already mentioned a few times, is that my self-esteem was just so low at the time that I honestly believed that, like, if that group didn't work out, I would never find friends again. I would never be able to sustain myself, that I had to put up with that crap in order to be accepted. Like, that was my only chance, and I needed to put up with that, or else I would just be alone forever. And of course, it was completely naive thinking, and it was such the wrong way to do, but I think a part of it permanently impacted the way I think and behave. And it's stupid now to think that something that should have been so insignificant has such a huge impact on me, but there it is. I know I'm kind of rambling a little more than I usually do in these videos, but I guess my brain's just all over the place right now. I guess that's just life. I think I just carry a lot of that with me, like a part of it never left. That little kid in me that just feels lost, lonely, and needs to be accepted by somebody, anybody. It's still there, and I think that's where a lot of my self-loathing comes from, is that feeling of worthlessness and shame that somehow I'm not worthy of it. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm kind of just rambling at this point. See, the thing about self-loathing, and why it's tricky to talk about, at least through my own experience, is that a person who has a lot of self-esteem problems has probably heard every little speech that you can throw at them to try to convince them that they're decent people. They'll just flat out reject it. I know I've done it. I know people who have, who just have such a horrible image of themselves, hence the name self-loathing, that it's like trying to convince someone of the impossible, basically. Because people, I'm going to include myself in this category, are so convinced of their worthlessness that any kind words you can throw at people will be met by, at best, utter surprise, and at worst, just complete rejection and seclusion. It's like we get stuck in this self-fulfilling prophecy cycle that says that no matter how hard we try, no matter what we do, we're just going to fail, so why bother at all? And it's the worst kind of cycle to get stuck in, because that voice, that fucking little voice, just diminishes all your victories and your accomplishments and just replaces them with just this horrible venom that just spreads like a virus. And it just says these horrible things to you. And just something like, for example, do you really think this will last? Why would anything good be waiting for you? You don't deserve it. You may have this now, but it's only a matter of time till you fuck it all up again and you end up alone with nothing like you usually do. And that's when the inevitable failure comes, and the voice just has a fucking field day. It goes, ooh, look, we were right. You failed. You fucked it all up. Now you're screwed. Now you're always going to be this fucking failure, like we always said you were. You are this failure. You are nothing. Stay in there in the dirt like nothing you are. I struggled with this voice for a long time. I still struggle with it from time to time. It sneaks up on me. But I have learned a few ways to combat it. The first thing is to start cherishing your accomplishments. To take pride in your work and convince yourself that you can do something, anything good, whether it's big or small. Another thing is to understand that failure is a part of life, and you can't have accomplishments without failures. So the best thing you can do is learn from failures and try to move on as painlessly as possible, but I understand this might be difficult. So the best thing to do is just to admit to yourself that you messed up, but it's not the end of the world, and you'll get over it. Another tip is to convince yourself that it's okay to grieve over a failure. It doesn't make you a worse person for it. But at the same time, it shouldn't paralyze you. So take the time you need to lick your wounds, learn what you need to learn, and get up and try again. It's also important to know that your self-loathing isn't only affecting you. It's affecting people around you. People who care about you, people who don't want to see you in pain, and are willing and want to help if you'll just let them. I'm obviously not speaking to you as a professional, but just someone who's been through that and has tried to learn from the experience. A lot of people don't know this about me, so they may be surprised to hear about it now, but there it is. But I have been to that struggle, and I got through it through some actual professional help and a lot of great people. There are options out there, and they are worth finding and investigating and experimenting with until you find something that helps you convince you of the good of you. So what do you think? What methods do you use to get past self-loathing? Or are you going through it right now? Leave a comment below with something you've experienced in the past or how you've gotten over it, and maybe we'll talk about it. And be rest assured, I do read all the comments, so if you have something you want to talk about, just leave it below, and that's all there is to it. So on that note, thank you all for watching this episode of MTCN Talks, and I'll see you all next time.